Okay, so first off, we're going to talk about Avatar: Last Airbender, Book 3, Episode 3, The Painted Lady. And this, I didn't even really want to be a part of this discussion, to be honest with you, like at the start of this, because this is my personal, like, least favorite episode, most hated, whatever you want to put that, episode of the whole show. I'm old. I'm an old person. I'm 30. Okay. So I come from the generation that had to wait for shows sometimes. It was very oppressive. You'd go to school and like you'd have to wait a week for like your show to come back around, right? And at the time, so I caught all this on first airing. So I'd waited, all summer long for like the premiere of the show. And then we got The Awakening. And it's like, okay, The Awakening. And we got the headband, and that was cute and charming, but also I don't think I really appreciated it that much at the time. I mean, as anyone who's been watching us knows, we quite enjoyed that episode. But at the time, I think I thought it was kind of meh. But I was a teenager then. I was by definition
It
I
was
was a bit
filler.
stupid.
It wasn't the main
You
story.
know,
Right.
yeah, but it had a lot of heart that I didn't
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate.
But
And
this
then this
episode in
episode,
particular is like major filler, you know?
yeah, this episode rolls around, and it's ugly. And by design, the location is gross. It's ugly. It's dour. It's sort of washed out and gray and beige. The characters, I, we'll get into this, but I don't like anybody in this episode really. You know what I mean? It's like everybody gets on my nerves, including the members of the gang, with the exceptions of Toph and Aang, who are not doing anything that annoys me. But the townspeople, like I mean, just everything about it, I don't find it's very much trying to ride on its comedy. Crickets chirp for me, like in the background. Not a single laugh, not a single intended. Well, there's one actually. There is one. I found a couple. So that's what it is. Let me just dial it back, and then we can get into our discussion.
He's been
I
brewing
have
this storm
graduated.
since we started this.
I've
He's been waiting
graduated,
for this
right?
episode from the book one,
Yeah.
episode one.
I have gone from I really don't like this episode to I don't really like this episode. Okay, like so that's where I've
There's a distinction.
you know what I mean? Because I tried going in for like I don't watch this episode. When I usually skip this when I rewatch the series. So I have not seen this in several years. Still don't really like it, but I tried going in this last time with a more open mind, and I found a few little bright spots. So I have some nice things to say, but boy, oh boy, this is like bottom rung of Avatar for me. Which it's a great show, so that's not saying that it's a terrible, horrible episode of television. But I do not like this episode. So
Yeah.
This
I
has
think
been
I think
public
really the
service
major
announcement.
issue is that I think the major issue is like this episode really doesn't serve a ton of purpose. Like even though it is filler, even some filler episodes, particularly in this show, at least go some way to further the development of the characters, or at least at the very least add little tidbits to the story that'll come up later. You could literally skip this episode and not really miss anything whatsoever.
I'm going to make everyone mad when I say that I would rather watch The Great Divide than this. I found that more entertaining. There's some genuine laughs there. I found it a more interesting concept. I just do not like this episode at all. And ironically, in my short novella, A Servant's Work, I sort of took unintentional inspiration. I have a very similar plot.
Which is
I did not
hilarious
get the
to me.
idea
I
from
loved
this,
it.
but when I looked at what I read, I was like, why is it a copy of the worst episode of Avatar?
But
But that's just it. It's literally just a pit stop. They arrive in this village that's having a lot of issues due to a factory polluting the river because it's a fishing town. That the townspeople are in disarray because they don't have enough food and they're really sick. So Katara tries her. Katara, having empathized with the other people, unlike everybody else, basically kind of disguises herself as this deity that they worship and tries to heal them with her abilities, and even ends up destroying the factory, which frees the townspeople. But again, it's like nothing really huge comes.
That's pretty much it.
Let's
move
yeah.
on.
That's the episode.
That's it.
Yeah.
I do have a
But
slightly. It's my second. It's my second least favorite episode. So it's not exactly a good one for me either. But at the same time,
What is your least favorite? Having said that,
I think probably The Great Divide on technical level, because I do see a bit of heart in this one. It's not plot relevant, and it's definitely not the best we ever see of what it is, but it is showing you a little bit of the heart that Katara has. It's a borderline frustrating because soccer is. For
I
the
mean,
most
we've
part
gotten that
right.
before, though. That's just it.
No, of course we've had it before. We've had it better, and we'll have it better again after this, especially.
We've had it literally exactly before, though.
Yeah.
Like she's always taking a stand. It's like we get it, Katara.
We don't need a reminder that she's a good caring
for
person.
sure.
We get that by now.
For sure, and I agree that it's not a necessary episode, but just the episode in a vacuum. You see the heart of her caring. The great line of her like taking that stand of I will never ever like turn my back on people who need me. There were some good ideas in it, but unfortunately, like you say, it's packaged in this Captain Planet the episode kind of deal where
this is Captain
with
Planet.
The exception of the theatrical performance at the end when they're doing the cool bending and clever ideas for kind of presenting the spirit as a spirit, and which I found very entertaining. The rest of it's just kind of it's just there. There's nothing particularly.
It's a weak script, and I'll get into the nitty gritty of it. It is a tremendously weak script, or like ridiculously weak. So for the startup, right? Why are we here?
They're traveling through the area. That's it.
They're hungry, right? They're fishing, right? Okay, the fish is bad. Okay, well let's go over there. Well, why are we going over there instead of any old where? Because of Sokka's schedule. All right.
Which is, by the way,
Sokka's schedule,
spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet on a parchment. I'd never noticed that before.
This is why it's a weak episode. Sokka's schedule is the antagonist of this whole episode. Structurally. Right. The only reason why we can't just blow up the factory and move on is because of Sokka's schedule. If they had said, Sokka, fuck your schedule, we could have been over this on day one. And eventually they say, Sokka, fuck your schedule. So we waste time for no reason. It's just his schedule. His schedule is the antagonist structurally. If you're looking at it from like a screenwriting
and it
position.
shouldn't be because he's in the right with his argument. He comes across a bit more callous than he has to, but he's right that they need to move on. If they don't make it in time,
the
world has lost the war. Is the mentality.
I'm sorry, but that's another thing. Is like, Sokka, have you not looked at a map of the world? This is a dinky nation. We can get anywhere in 30 minutes or less on Appa. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, he's talking about cutting out potty breaks and let's eat while we're having our potty breaks. The humor. And I will remind you, that even with this nonsense, we have more than enough time because in Nightmares and Daydreams, we're doing nothing for a while. We're just killing time. Okay,
this is better than that episode for me.
Huh?
It's trying to establish stakes where none are necessary. It just comes off as contrived.
It's completely contrived, which all writing is contrived. You just don't want it to feel so contrived. It's like there's literally no reason why we can't just blow up the factory and clean the river on the first day and then go like about our business. There's no reason. So it's elongated, and we get into this village, and I appreciate the heart and like the sort of the soulful ideas behind what Katara is doing. I do. That's one of the few things that I actually like. I need to back up. The first thing, the only intentional laugh that I actually think is a great comedic bit that I love in this episode is when Aang covers up Appa and says, "Now you just look like a bush with horns," and like leaves it at that, like as though that's a great disguise. And we move on. Love that. That is hilarious.
As we all know, bushes tend to have horns.
Yeah.
Yes, of course they do. That's cute. That's Aang. That's funny. I love it. Every other joke in this makes me gag. I hate it. I can't handle Doc. Shu, whoever the fuck.
It drives me mad. I
hate this character.
You literally see the entirety of his gimmick in the first second. And
he's such a part of the episode. I hate him. I have an irrational hatred of him. He's really not that big of a deal. I hate him. Like I can't stand this episode. On a much more petty note, and I'm sorry to say this because this is like nitpicky and I don't like to be a nitpicker. I'm not a fan of the vocal performance of the village child. It annoys me.
Yeah, it's the audio almost on it. It's not so much the actual performance, but the actual like almost the recording.
Something about it
sounds like it's from a different
it sounds
different
fake.
Setup. Yeah.
It sounds.
I have the same thought.
It distracts me. Yeah. And this is going way out of order. Okay, but after, you know what? We'll save it. We'll save my comments on like the end. That's my other big problem. Mm-hmm. The things that I do like about the episode, because I have a few. I wrote them down.
You were surprised, I remember, when we were coming up to this episode for the recording, you were going to rewatch it. And, I don't want to rewatch the episode. I hate the episode. And you came back to it and said, "Oh no, there are a few like marginally worth noting points in favor." Yeah. And that's how I found it. Like, I enjoyed aspects of this, like the ideas they were playing with the whole spirit side of things and the Katara.
Yes, that's one of mine. That's one of mine.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's just the packaging of the episode is just terrible.
I already said that the bush with horns. That I wrote that down. That was one of my notes. That was a good one. I like Katara's design in the painted lady outfit. I think that's really cool. I wrote down the theatrics with Toph, Appa, and Sokka creating the ambience, and that was awesome. And it's also like a weak setup where like it doesn't really matter that we have to like disguise the fact that we're not really a spirit and what, because the moment that's blown, it's like whatever. I mean, I get we have to do it for like the factory workers, I guess, but like as far as the village is concerned, it's like sure, we'll just keep your secret. That's no problem. It's just kind of like. It's a lot of like setup for stuff that just doesn't go anywhere, and it just feels like this cumbersome, take forever thing. And I like the bit. This is way like bottom of the barrel, where it doesn't matter. But I love the bit where Katara is getting ready. I like that she bends like a little mirror out of the water, and like yeah.
They could have just had her running straight out of the camp in full getup, but they took the time to explain how she's doing that, which is unnecessary.
Yeah, that was
but
cool.
Brilliant. I thought it was such a cool touch.
Yeah.
I made the same note. I was like, oh, that's awesome. She's actually applying the makeup with the mirror. It's brilliant. I love that same point.
Yes. That was fun. That was cool. I even like the little bit of shticky kind of banter between her and Aang there, where he's like trying to convince her that he's a friend, and then he's like, "Oh, you're pretty for like a spirit," and blah blah blah, and also is like, "Really, Aang? Like, you need to blow the hat off to see who you know what I mean?"
It's Superman with the glasses.
It's kind of obvious.
You're the painted lady. It's like, yes.
It's not really as mind-boggling as they try and present it.
Yeah. Also, just to note, Katara is damn athletic to be able to outrun an airbender. Like for a good while, she was keeping ahead of that. But that was impressive.
I felt that was a bit just for the sake of because realistically, when you see him doing his running,
he obviously wasn't
no
trying as hard as he could, but still, she did well for herself.
But it does work with her disguise because Doc and Shu establishes that in this world, a hat is like magic, and you can't. Right, so it works. Okay, so I really don't have.
So her and Aang team up. They blow up the factory,
which has no guards, by the way. There is just no one.
Well, why would it? I mean, it's just a fucking factory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a base or like it's not like an evil, sanctum or something. It's just
and they do have
factory.
Soldiers. They just aren't on guard apparently. Poor quality defenses there. But yeah,
they come to the village and threaten the village, and then the gang fights
jet
them
bikes,
off.
by the way.
Yeah,
that was weirdly high tech.
When did we get those?
I completely forgot they existed, and they were weirdly high tech compared to everything.
They come out of nowhere. I noticed the same thing, and again, I not to be nitpicky because they do have things like tanks and now airships, but
they're steam.
Something about those
like trundlers. They're not like let me turn this handle and get like a revved engine kind of thing. That doesn't make any sense. But again, it is nitpicky ultimately.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't have much to say about this one. I really like the scene with like I said, all the theatrics of what they're doing to sort of simulate the coming of a spirit. I also like that it actually before that that it shows Katara going around doing things like healing or whatever, But it all just feels like if we just said Sokka, forget the schedule, before, like we could just do this instead of
It's just,
which they do.
Like you see, sorry, go ahead.
They do that. Like after he busts her, like I know you're the painted lady and you've been doing this and we need to get back on schedule. Her answer is no. So it's like, why don't we just do that? Like it just feels so weak. Like and the antagonists are not threatening at all, which is fine, because why would they be? They're pretty low tier. I mean,
they have absolutely no trouble fending them off.
It's almost more embarrassing than like in the previous episode, Aang beat somebody with like his hands behind his back and without throwing a punch. And this time he like bends from underneath like the floor and gets rid of the guy. You know what I mean? These are bottom tier enemies, So it just felt like an extraordinarily weak episode.
And it's the fact that it's coming in the final book where that the episodes are they're crucial. They have a time schedule. They've got very limited time left to spend, and this episode, particularly the dream sequence episodes, like just why they put them here when they have so little time, and it sours the impression of the book as well, because when we were trying to work out the episode list on this one, and when we were remembering what sequence the episodes were in, we were thinking, oh god, you got to get through like 6 or 7 or 8 episodes of bad before you get to the great book 3 stuff. But really, it is only like 4 or 3 episodes of like before you get to the major contenders and the ones you remember. And just episodes like this being a part of that makes it feel like it's a way longer stretch before you get to the good stuff.
again,
Yeah,
it just has so little impact, if at all. It just feels completely pointless.
I'll never get over
especially
the bitterness.
in a season that really doesn't feel like it has much time to waste. You know, like
yeah, I'll never get over the bitterness of going through school all week looking forward to like this next episode of the show, and then this was it. You know, like I was so I just hate this episode. But and I also hate the townspeople. How dare you dress up like our painted lady?
I know.
It's like,
what are you
fuck?
like,
not like I spent the last day
and
saving your
they
ass.
don't even commit to it, which, you know, yeah, great, we didn't want them to, but at the same time, if they're not going to be the type of people who commit to that insanity, why was their immediate response like, how dare you trick us? Like, they just saved your asses right in front of your face. Like, what are you talking about, you crazy
when
people?
Sokka was all like, you should be on your knees thanking her, I was like, yeah, you should be.
And then immediately after that as well, like, what do we do to help stop this thing? It's like, you could try
why don't we clean the river?
It's like, that's tough.
It's like, what a bunch of dumbasses.
I know, how are you supposed to
don't
feel sorry for these people exactly?
It
doesn't take the time to build up the stakes of its own drama. So why would you care about the episode? You know,
and you compare it to like things like the family from Zuko alone, or just stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just, this was garbage. Like I don't. Every character. Like, see, Katara annoys me in the I'm stubborn and I'm going to do this. And it's like, well, if you're going to be stubborn from the outset and not waste my time. You know what I mean? Sokka annoys me with but the schedule is like, fuck your schedule. Like, let's just do this. And plus, we're going to get there early anyway, which I know that obviously from reasons outside of the episode, but still, you know, it's like Aang and Toph, you're cool. The townsfolk, I hate you. Your enemies, you're lame. You know, it's like everything about it. I just don't like it. You know, it's one of those episodes. It's a waste of my time.
With the exception,
and then we actually see the spirit of the actual painted lady at the end, and she gets like one line and then disappears and does nothing. It's like, oh great, you couldn't have helped. You know, thanks.
Well, I think I like the Katara's heart stuff in here. When she's actually caring and the line work she gives to explain that. I enjoyed that, and I like the painted lady both visually and as a concept as well. So those are the two bits I like. Everything else I can do with that, and that basically sums up this entire episode. You know, it's just not. It's not worth the time that they spent on it at all, and that's kind of the prevailing memory.
I would say, like, unless I'm to watch this with like a friend or family member who's never seen the show before in the future, I'll never make time in my life for this episode again. Like, it was very much just an effort of,
Basically, what we're getting at is like there's maybe a few good sequences here and there, but overall, it's not really something you need to waste much time on in the overall narrative of the series. So yeah.
Avatar Book 3, Episode 3, Painted Lady. 10 out of 10. That's my judgment. Let's go.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 shades of shit is what you mean. But,
-10.
That's
anyway. Yeah, there's not much to say on this one. So thanks for bearing with. And next episode that we have to talk about is going to be Sokka's Master, right?
Yes, and it'll be a lot more positive.
Yeah, it's a return to
much
form.
more to talk about.
Yeah. At least we're getting some critique, because every episode up to this point has been just, you know, great. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm Cal, and I still don't have an outro.
I'm Matt, and I hate the painted lady. And thanks for watching.
Could you tell?
Yeah. Evan over 95. We hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys later.
Goodbye.